Now, the next step, once you get it back to the cube form, we need to put all the corners in at the appropriate place. To do that, just to review with this, as opposed, I would do the 3x3x2, but honestly, these puzzles are so hard to move, I'd rather just do it with this guy. What you're going to do is you're going to do cuboid strategy. Now, I'm not going to go over that again. You've got to look at the previous video to do that. Because like I say, that's the part one. First thing I'm going to do is find out what's supposed to be at the top and what's supposed to be at the bottom. So at the top here, in this case, this is going to be yellow. So I'm actually going to put this, well, this is supposed to be yellow here, so this is supposed to be white over here. Reason why I wanted to have a specific place is because I want this to be over to the left. So this is the white. I've got the green and red. I want to find the other white and green, which is up here. So I'm going to use cuboid strategy, 3x3x2 cuboid corner placing strategy to put this down to here. What I'm going to do is prime it. I usually prime them from the bottom and do that algorithm that I previously demonstrated to get this down to here. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. And you'll see that these corners are in. The next step is, of course, move it to the side, keeping it in a primed position compared to the top, which this is going to become the middle over here, basically. And now I want to put the other white one, well, all these happen to be in. So you keep doing it as such. Now you're going to work on the top one. If you want to get this back, if this is out, you just do 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R. Basically, it's a adjacent edge swap. Because these edges don't function as edges, all it's going to do is it's going to put the middles back in. So for the top part, you're looking for the two corners that are in place, move that just to the left, and then simply do a corner swapping algorithm from the top. Prime the bottom, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, UI, D, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R. And you'll find, magically, you did it. All these are here. Now, before we move on, let's apply that to this guy on both levels. Once again, I'm going to start off with the top and with the bottom. Now, what you see here is you see that these two are skewed. What we have to do is we have to prime the complementary layer. The complementary layer of the top is the bottom. The complementary layer of the second layer is the third layer. So these are the ones that you have to prime. Prime this one and this one so that both of these layers won't fall into a non-cubic shape, just like that. We're going to do the top and the bottom just to demonstrate first. So I'm going to define this. This is the yellow and this is the white. So you can see we have two whites that are appropriately placed. Here's blue and orange, blue and red. So I'm going to move this over here, and what I'm looking for is the other red and white corner, which is over here. So I'm going to move this over here because this is over here, and this has to come down to here. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm working on the top and the bottom, I don't want to lose this, prime this, and we keep it primed. I'm also going to prime the bottom because I want to move this down without losing my cube form. So this will come down to here as a 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. And now you can see that this is in. I have one more white to go. Now this did create kind of a parity over here. So I'm going to move this in like thus, and move this white into position because I need the other white and green, which is over here. So this is going to come down to here. I'm doing nothing different than what you saw on the square one 3x3x2 tutorial. So this is going to come down here. The only difference is I've got this middle one to deal with that I just primed to retain the shape. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. And no worries, these are all in. Orange, orange, green, green, red, red. Here's a situation that you might run into where, first off, now I got to get these corners in, but you can see that this isn't where it needs to be. So I'm going to deal with this the same way I dealt with the center over here, the middle slice over here. This is equivalent to that. We're going to do an opposite edge swap. We're not really swapping edges, we're really just rotating these. That's going to be 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R. 2U. So that's a quick way of getting that back. Now to get this in, find the two corners that are in. These are in, move it to the left side, and then do an adjacent corner swap. exactly the way you do with the cuboid. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R UI, DI, whoops, 2R UI, 2R U, 2R. And lo and behold, it's all in. So let's kind of take stock in what we've got. We've defined what the top is, what the bottom is, and we've defined where all the corners are supposed to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing only on this side, but now I know what corners are supposed to be where. So I would recommend doing the top and the bottom first. So over here you can see that if this is the bottom one, I like this blue and orange where it is. So I'm going to use this as my base. Now because I'm working with a middle layer here, I'm going to prime the top and bottom so that I can go back and forth and not ruin what I did over here. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for something up here that's also got blue in it. But I'm not going to be looking for, well, it's got to be something that has blue that's on this side, because when this comes down here, it's going to flip. So it's not this one. It's probably going to be this one. And understand, it's not going to be the same color as this. So if you see a blue and orange, don't flip that down here because it's not going to make sense. The blue and orange is going to end up over here. You're going to have two blues, but you're going to have an orange here and an orange here. That's the wrong side. Opposite orange is going to be red, so it's got to be this one. This one looks good because when this comes down here, the blue's going to be here, the red's going to be here. You don't have the advantage of having a color on top to guide you. So if this were, say, a yellow and this were a white, there would be a yellow up here and there would be a white down here. So this is going to come down here. So let's go ahead and prime ourselves. I usually prime from the bottom, and now we're going to be moving this layer. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. All right, now let's unprime it and see what we've got. Now understand we create a little bit of parity here, but that's okay. We'll just keep that primed so we don't forget. And we've got two corners here with an orange here and a red here. So now let's move this here for the next one in line. I'm looking for the other red, any other red up here, but the red has to be on this side, and it can't be a blue. Well, this suffices. It's a red and a green. So it couldn't be, say, this, because this is a red and blue. If I were to move this down to here, I'd end up with two reds, but I'd end up with a blue here and a blue here. Blue's already spoken for. So it can't be another red and blue, even though this qualifies with the red being in the right place. So we'll whip it around, and we have this, red and green. So kind of have an idea of what you're trying to do. So we'll do it again. Prime the bottom, and 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Okay, that did two things. Number one, put this back. Number two, it put this in. So now you can see in. Well, actually, I'm sorry, this isn't in yet. I celebrated too quickly. So we'll move on to the next one. Here's a green. Green and red, green and red. We need a green and orange. How about this one? Not the right one, because if I flip this down, this green will be facing here. So this isn't the correct one. This is the correct one, because this green will end up here, this orange will end up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this down. Prime the bottom and move this down. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Okay, so that did just that. Now, I want you to notice something. All these may have been placed in, but it caused placement parity over here. So here's how I would get out of that trap. Let's put this back up and anticipate that that may have happened. Because every time you do the 2RU, 2RUI, 2R, you end up placing parity here and here on both of these levels. So let's put this up for a second. 2RUI. 2R. Okay, so we don't want to break the hard work that we did with these guys. So I want to move this down here, but let's not do that yet. Before I place this, let's put another one down here, a dummy one down here, so that I can have that parity there and then put this in to break that parity. So I'm going to move this over here and just put this down. I know it's not the right one, but it's there to kind of put this out so that the next move can put it in. So every time I do that algorithm, it creates placement parity here. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Okay, now I did that so that I can cause the chaos over here, so that now I can move this back. Now I can move this down and it'll fix these as well. So 2R, U, 2R, UI, and 2R. Okay, the end result of that is this is all fixed, and now I can put this into line up. So as you can see, we'll make this make sense as well. These corners are now all in. Okay, so now these are all in over here. So we're going to search the top layer for two corners that are in. In, nope, in, yeah. So we'll move this to the side and just do a corner swap to get these in place. So prime and prime, and now we're just going to do corner swaps with just these two layers, keeping this the same. So we're going to do 2R. Now this top layer, keeping these two the same, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Then we do a UI, and then a DI, then 2R, UI, 2R, U, and 2R, and you'll find you've got it. So now we'll just get it all set up just so that we can see what we've done. So now all of your corners are in. So this is the way to get your corners in. Now watch that closely because I've had a couple questions on that. Remember, whatever center you're dealing with, whatever layer you're dealing with, first you do these two. If you want to do that, you prime it from here so that these two never change. Remember to prime, so priming this layer in conjunction with this layer in conjunction with this, but it's done exactly the same way. So now the next step. The next step is basically putting these in. And as you recall with that algorithm, what you're looking for is first you're trying to move everything of the same color to the top and the bottom. Already you can think that, okay, well that's going to be easy here. What about these two? What color is supposed to be quote top? What color is supposed to be bottom? That's what the challenge is going to be. But as you recall, what you want to do is you want to put it in this configuration, in an L shape. Because when you do that, you can do the algorithm that flips these two and these two. So if I have this over here, this will come down here, this will come up here, this will come down here, and this will come up here. So all this will be yellow. Going fast through that because I've already been through that. So what you want to do is prime the bottom, 2R DI, 2R D, 2R. Unprime the bottom, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top, prime the bottom, 2R, D, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, okay, good, real good. Okay, so with this, what you want to do is you want to end up with the L formation over here where you have two whites in an L where there's yellows and two yellows in an L where there's whites. So we're going to try to find that configuration by first doing the algorithm that swaps these two and these two. Now, I don't memorize where to place it with each one of these. Why occupy your mind with that kind of memorization? Just kind of think about what you want to have happen. I want to move a white one up to here to coincide with this. So if I move this over here, end up with white here, and I'll end up exchanging white for white, so I'll end up with the L. This yellow will come down here, and these two will exchange, so I'll end up with a yellow here and here. And that algorithm, as you recall, is prime the bottom, 2R, DI, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top, prime the bottom, 2R, D, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top. And so you have your L formation here. So now move this into a configuration where these two will swap fine and these two will swap. Same thing. Prime the bottom, 2R, D, I, 2R, unprime the top, bottom rather, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top, prime the bottom, 2R, D, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, and quite easily you've got all these in over here. So let's apply this to this, top and bottom first. And you see 1 and 1. Let's go ahead and move this into proper configuration. Remember, prime these two so that you don't lose track of anything that you just did. We'll move this to the side like we did last time. I'm not going to start off priming, that's part of the algorithm. Actually, this has to come over to here, I think. So this will put a yellow here, and these two whites will exchange, and this will put a white over here, and these two whites will exchange. So that'll be fine. It's the same thing as over here. So the same thing, we just have to prime these two so that we don't lose sight of what we just did. So prime the bottom, 2R, DI, 2R, unprime the bottom, and just the bottom, not this. Prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top, prime the bottom, 2R, D, make sure this is right, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, and finally 2R, 2U, 2R. Okay, predictably this is here, that's exactly what we wanted. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this into the proper configuration. I'll move this over here now, because I know that these two will flip and these two will flip, giving us all the proper colors. So, same algorithm, prime the bottom, 2R, DI, 2R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, to R, to U, to R, unprime the top, prime the bottom, to R, D, to R, unprime the bottom, prime the top, to R, to U, and to R. Okay, so good and good. Now, let's get everything back. Let's put it back in the proper colors too. What we're looking for is, we know that these are what they are because of the color that they are. What about these? Well, the similarities here is I only have one green, one blue, one red, and one orange. One green, blue, red, and orange. So same thing over here. I see a green, I see another green. So you know they both can't be up here. It's like the equivalent of having two different colors. So two greens, no good. Blue and yellow. I've got no problem with this blue and yellow. But imagine these two greens as being the wrong color. So let's say this is all the correct color, and if this is yellow, we're going to call this white. Which means maybe we just have one of the wrong color here. So good, 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 and good. Well, no, I have two reds. So what this means is I'm going to look at this like I have a blue one, rather a green one of the wrong color, and a red one of the wrong color. So I had the same configuration that I did with just one out. Now I invite you to do any other combinations that might happen. Maybe there's two. Maybe they're at opposite ends. But look for the two that are of the same color, and that's what you want to swap out. What I'm looking for, though, is I'm looking for, well, we don't even have to do an L formation. We just have to swap out the wrong colors. So this needs to be swapped with red. Now, let's see if we can kind of reason this out. I need to move a green one down here, conserving a green one here, and move a red one up here, conserving a red one over here. Well, there's no algorithm that's going to do a clean swap of just two, because remember, law of cubes, I can't do one swap. So what I need is I need another color that's going to flip-flop with that. In this case, perhaps the blue. But let's say I move this over here. Well, that looks pretty good. Green one's going to come down here, red one's going to come up here. But this green one over here is also going to end up down here, and this red is going to swap, and I'll be no better than when I started. So I'm going to swap these two, but swap these two, and I'll end up with two greens down here instead, and two reds up here. So what I'm going to need to do is let's extend this over and see what we've got. Will this work? Well, the red and blue is going to exchange, so I'm going to have a red up here, and these greens are going to exchange. So that sounds pretty good, but now I'm going to have two blues down here, which is not what I want. So let's see, where else can we go? Well, I've got two blues that are going to be exchanging. One is going to go down here, one is going to come up here, which is pretty good. This red will come up here and to be separated from this red, and this green will come down here to be separated from this green. So that works. So when you see two that are out, and more likely than not that's how you're going to see it, that's what's going to happen, go ahead and put one that has to move up on this side over here to the front, and the other that has to move down on this side here, and make sure that you have two colors that are the same on either side. So this is just one configuration. Now this isn't going to be the same with all of them, but I invite you to use your critical thinking and your problem solving to make that make sense. Just understand that this algorithm is going to flip these two and these two, and at the end of the day you need to have a situation where you've done good even swaps where you're going to need one kind of a go-between where they both swap. In this case it's blue, so that you can move a red one here and a green one here in this case. If you do not find any situation that's going to work, then just go ahead and swap it as best you can and then reevaluate. That's the hardest part, and I think that's where most of my questions are coming from. I'm not going to go through every configuration, but if you know the concept of what I'm talking about, if you have two here that are in the same level and two here that are in the same level, coordinate it to where you're going to have one from one level and the other from the bottom level that's going to swap while you're swapping these out. So pay close attention to what I had said with this, but this red will come up to be separated from this green will come down to be separated from this, and I'm using my blue to juxtapose both of those. If you don't have a similar situation, then try it as best you can and just keep playing around with it until you can get that. But I'm not going to give you every scenario. That's not really teaching anything, that's just showing you, that's just demonstrating, and that's not really problem solving. But in any case, what I'm going to do is let's prime the bottom because we've already got that where we want it. And now we're going to go ahead and just do the algorithm just with the bottom, with these two layers here. So prime the bottom, 2R, DI, 2R, unprime the bottom. Prime the top, 2R, 2U, 2R, unprime the top. Prime the bottom, 2R, D, 2R, unprime the bottom, and finally prime the top, 2R, 2U, and 2R. So, do we like it? Well, let's get all the colors back in so we don't get confused. So we have blue, green, yellow, red. Did I say yellow? I meant orange. Orange, green, blue, and red. So that's where you have it. So that's how you do it. All right, so just bear in mind what the algorithm does, and bear in mind how to make sure that you're coordinating it not based on the color at the top, but based on having too many here, and have one that can juxtapose two, because you're usually going to have two that are out. Just have one that'll be sort of a buffer so that you can swap those as well.